Hey guys, Michael Sema here with Brian Kim from the Group BK team here out of Bergen County, New Jersey. We're here to talk to you about the Hybrid Agent Program. I know a lot of you have a lot of questions, so we decided to put a video together and really just kind of address the main concerns and questions about the hybrid program, but number two, really talk about the benefits and also the technology behind it. So Brian, you became a hybrid agent. And started the process about what, almost 4 months ago, 5 months ago?
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. So if you don't mind walking people through the overall decision behind becoming a hybrid agent, like why did you choose to become a hybrid?
Yeah, Mike, it was, I think it all happened by chance. You know, it all happened by chance. I was just going about my day and then happened to be introduced to it by somebody, one of the local agents here in this area, and she said that you really have to check this out. This is a game changer. This is the new thing, and it's artificial intelligence. And you know, my thought process was immediately, yeah. I mean, that's I hear that all the time.
Right.
But I decided that to inject a pattern interrupt into my day. And say, okay, well, let me see what this is about. She seemed very enthusiastic about the hybrid agent program. So I said, okay, well, maybe it's worth a 5-10 minute conversation.
Right.
And you remember it turned out to be like an hour 30-minute conversation between us. We just connected immediately regarding tech and where the industry's going. I think part of the problem with today's industry is that they're too immersed in what's happening today. Right. Like they wake up, really, loan officers and real estate agents, they wake up reacting to their email, reacting to their text messages. Most recently, a realtor told me they start their day at 8:30 in the morning. I said, okay, what's the first thing you do? And the agent told me, she says she rolls over to her side, grabs her phone, and she's like her pillow's like, her head is still on her pillow, and she's gazing at her phone for 30 minutes in bed, right? Just like checking emails, who can I respond to, who can I react to, right? So I said, that's doesn't sound like a life worth living, you know, to me. So I said to myself, man, there's too many agents and too many MLOs are just reacting to the day rather than being proactive and being having a systematized business to actually have a business and have a life worth living.
Yeah.
So the reason I connected immediately with you is because I'm just a huge believer that that artificial intelligence is definitely progressively taking over our industry. I think also that it's also happening way faster on the mortgage end than it is in real estate. For a number of different factors. I think that mortgages really, it used to be, so Mike, it used to be where the real estate agents gains the baton, like they earn the baton of trust from the client, right? And what actually happens from then going forward is you gain that baton of trust, and then you pass that baton of trust on to trusted vendors, a great loan officer like yourself, or a home inspector, or an attorney. It works for inspectors. It works for attorneys. It works for most industry professionals, except loan officers. And that's where I saw a gaping hole. And I said, okay, wow. Like one of my best friends, who's currently buying a house, I referred them to. I referred a mortgage company, and yourself, your mortgage company,
right?
And he's still rate shopping, So I said, there's got to be a better way. I think part of the reason we connected so quickly is you were so transparent about the truth. And the truth is that what really hit home, and what resonated with me was the fact that you said that 80% of a loan officer's time is spent romancing the realtor and saying, hey, let's do business. 20% of the time is actually allocated towards actual working time. Right. So that I said, wow. And just listening to your approach and listening to why you wanted to transition into AI and automation. So listen, AI, what's AI? It's nothing more than a user interface with an algorithm that does certain things. It's a flow chart, right? That's all it is. People make it out to more than it really is. And I think we connected because you said, okay, well, if 80% of my time or MLO's time is spent romancing a realtor, then what? Then how do we find a different way?
Right.
And you said, well, let's go direct to the source, which is the real estate agent.
Right.
Right. They've already earned that baton of trust.
Right.
So why can't we get them licensed? So there's a lot of people don't realize, and a lot of realtors don't realize that you could be a realtor and a loan officer at the same time.
Right.
Why not get compensated? And we also clicked, and I was very interested because in removing the human element, you're removing a lot of the human interaction that needs to be, which is very costly, by the way, right?
Right.
It's very costly. In removing that human element, you get to underprice the market to, on an average, about 1/8% below your competition.
Definitely.
Gigantic value.
Huge.
Gigantic value, and I think that another reason I was interested and really drawn in was that I feel that you've addressed a really big problem that buyers have, is they have this fear of rejection. And when you get rejected by another human being, although they may be 3 miles away from you, you don't know them, you don't have any friends in common, just the mere fact of them actually getting rejected,
Right.
It's hurtful.
Yeah.
So, but to get rejected from a computer screen, and doing a soft credit pull where it doesn't affect your credit, you get rejected from a computer screen, you can move forward with your day without feeling bad about being rejected, right?
Right.
So I thought it was really insightful of you to come up with this new hybrid program where say, hey, listen, let's get all the real estate agents licensed.
Yeah.
Let them sell mortgages. Let them originate mortgages. And let's compensate them.
Yeah.
And then, but at the same time, we all know how complex the mortgage back end is, right? So, but let's take some of that work off the table from the realtor, right? Because it's hard enough to do real estate as it is. I mean, can you really ask a real estate agent to also sell mortgages?
Right, and learn
probably
about
not.
probably a brand new system and industry. Yeah, no, and that was one of the main reasons it hasn't really developed in the past few decades, for it to be a normal thing for agents to be able to offer a one-stop shop, because it is time consuming. The old school approach of how the industry is structured or was structured, but most of the mortgage companies are still operating based on the old school approach, is you have to do a lot of legwork to be able to understand what you could offer a client and be able to put a package together for a client.
Sure.
From starting the application to going over the credit report to reviewing the income documents, and then on top of that, seeing what options and interest rates and programs you could offer them. It would be hours of work.
Sure.
And for an agent to have to go through that, and number one, get licensed, number two, learn all the different lingo, and on top of that, the different programs that are available, and then on top of that, be good at it to be able to offer a good service. It wasn't something that agents were willing to do. They were busy enough doing what they had to do on the real estate side. But on our end, we decided about 1.5 years ago to digitize the mortgage process as much as possible, to the point that any client could be able to do the entire application process through a platform that is more of a conversational style, that it asks simple questions, and based on the answers, asks additional questions. And based on the answers, runs the scenario, pulls credit, and takes a look at the outstanding liabilities, takes a look at the minimum monthly payment obligations. It gives the client the ability to digitally verify their assets, verify their income, and run it through DU, which is an underwriting system that could literally approve the file on the spot. So when we came up with it, our ultimate goal wasn't to introduce this to the real estate market and to introduce a new industry professional in the market. The goal was, as a company, to eliminate as much of the work a mortgage loan originator really has to go through to be able to offer their service as possible. So when we started it, we were focusing with our online direct-to-consumer model is saving time. And by saving time, you save money. And by being able to eliminate 95% of the workload, we were shocked, because we looked at each other, my partner and I, and we're like, oh my God, like,
what are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Is the mortgage loan originator even needed moving forward?
Sure.
The answer is yes and no. The way that a mortgage loan originator operates his day-to-day business, back to what you were saying, is 4 out of 5 days. Those days are dedicated into building and retaining realtor relationships.
Sure.
Most originators don't have an online direct-to-consumer model.
Right.
They don't purchase leads. They focus on building relationships because it's harder to build, but once you build it, it's easier to manage. You're dealing strictly with referrals, with clients that are looking to put pre-approvals, that are already working with a real estate agent that is referring you as an industry professional. So there's a lot to say when you're referring somebody as an agent, especially as an agent that's spending so much time and energy with the client and building the trust factor with them. When you refer me to any one of your clients, after spending 2 to 3 months, they trust you. They automatically always talk to me, no matter what. They'll
at least chat.
At least a conversation. So MLOs have built their book of business with that model, and it's been working for decades. But now that things are becoming more digitized and technology is more popular, especially with some of these online direct-to-consumer model companies, and more companies are going online, there's other platforms that are being set up and vendors that are being set up that is allowing these companies to compete against each other and offer transparent interest rates right from day one.
Right.
So clients and home buyers in today's day are more educated and have more resources available to them than they used to 10 to 15 years ago.
Right.
To be able to get an online rate quote 10 years ago from a mortgage company, oh my God, good luck with it. It wouldn't happen, number one. Most of the companies didn't have their pricing portals built correctly to be able to offer online transparent rates. And you would have to talk to somebody or go into an office and start the full application and pull your credit and submit documents to even just get a rate quote. But now that things have been changing and technology has been changing, it's number one, better for clients because now they have the resources available to them online. They can compare interest rates. They can do it themselves. And when we came up with this program, when we realized that the human element isn't going to be involved as much as it has been in our particular industry, that there's an opportunity for a new future and a new industry professional, which we call now the hybrid agent.
Right.
And it's been great because on our end we see how transparent the system is. That a client can literally see what they could qualify for, but they see all the different programs and all the different interest rates without having to talk to anybody. So when we realized that when we came up with it, we wanted to test it for the first couple of months. We want to make sure that clients are okay with working with a one-stop shop industry professional. So towards the beginning of last year, we rolled it out internally, and the conversions were unbelievable. Agents are now calling pre-approval leads instead of just regular listing leads or buyer leads.
Right.
They're talking a better quality lead that's allowing them to save a lot more time, because if a client completes an online pre-approval application, they really want to know what they could qualify for. They're further down the line in the funnel than a lot of leads that are in the beginning stages of, hey, I saw something on Zillow, send me some information on this property, or maybe I want to take a look at it. So yeah, it's been working internally on our end. The main reason for this whole video is to really answer some questions that a lot of these agents have about the program.
Sure.
And to also talk to them about what you internally are doing with your team and why you see it as a benefit to the client. Like what's the main reason you chose to become a hybrid agent?
I think that's a pretty easy one. It's lower rates, right? I mean, that's what the client is ultimately looking for, is very competitive rates and a streamlined process. And it was almost too good to be true when I actually heard about it, and I said, okay. What I was really impressed with regarding the user interface and the application process that could be done in 15 minutes. I mean, it was a really comprehensive, thought out user interface where you had to sit there and manually plug in the tax rate of every single town and you had to manually you had to make sure that the accuracy, right? I mean, because if it's not accurate, what good is that? What good is the application process if the accuracy is very the quality isn't there,
Right.
right? So so it provides value, in that sense. I think it also provides value. Hey, listen, our agents, right? Our agents get to make a better living, right?
Yeah.
At every loan they originate, and I think that you don't have to sell anything. You say, hey, listen, we typically have 1/8% lower interest rate than the rest of our competition. Not always. I mean, things not always, right?
Yeah.
But for the most part, yes. I think that was very attractive.
Yeah.
I think what was also attractive was the fact that the agent. So I think what's daunting to a real estate agent, doing real estate in itself is a daunting task. I mean, there's just a lot of moving parts. I mean, a lot of these agents are emotionally tapped out, right?
Right.
I mean, they're at their threshold. They're redlining. So to add something else to the plate is like, oh my God, like I can't. Immediately their blockages in their head just immediately start popping up. But if you really sit down and think about it, you don't have to sell.
Yeah.
All you have to say is, why don't you get a second opinion from a computer screen in 15 minutes to see if we can undercut the market by 1/8%,
Right.
and you're going to be pre-approved in 15 minutes. What it's also going to do is it's going to get the buyer mentally in the game.
Right.
You're going to, you're going to be able to know where that buyer is in the process, right, of buying a house, because that's what differentiates a quality lead from a lead that's not so great, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lead is a lead,
Right.
But what determines the quality of a lead is by where they are in the timeline of actually how close they are to pulling the trigger on a specific house.
Right.
Makes sense. So, so I think, just to summarize, yeah, I think it was a no-brainer. I think that the system provided a lot of value, a lot of accuracy. The client can benefit from lower rates.
Mm-hmm.
The agent can benefit from originating loans and adding another stream of income to all that work that they did, right?
Yeah.
There's just a lot of work that an agent does.
Yeah.
It's a lot of human interaction, the belly to belly.
And the
Yeah.
trust factor is built between you and the client.
You don't have to pass the baton, right?
You don't have to pass
That's
it. Keep it internally and capitalize on it.
Sure.
Offering a one-stop shop service that's so transparent and has a layer of protection that referring an MLO and a different company that doesn't have.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, the human element is still involved when you're referring a person, a sales representative that works for a lender, a broker, or a big bank.
Right.
That person's personal interests are always involved with the particular transaction. So their personal structure based on an MLO is also involved. So I'm going to give you a quick example. I was down in the Florida market and I was interviewing a few mortgage loan originators that are looking to jump on board and be a part of the company. And a lot of them were asking me what the overall compensation is. And one of my first questions is, hey, what exactly have you been compensated in the past, and what are you looking to get compensated? Just to kind of get an insight of where their current margins have been and what they're used to, not only offering their clients, but also getting compensated individually themselves. I was talking to one guy, he said 3% across the board. Well, 3%, well, that's a lot of money
Yeah.
to make on a particular transaction. On a $400,000 loan amount, they're making $12,000 for a few hours of work. So I'm like, okay, 3%, that's, you're not really competitive based on what you're offering. He's like, I don't care. I do only FHA programs. So if any client gets referred to me, I automatically pitch them on the FHA.
Mm-hmm.
My question was, okay, what if they qualify for a better conventional option?
Sure.
He goes, no, I don't make any money on conventional options.
Sure.
Like, oh, so you choose to pick what program you're pitching, I guess, based on the overall compensation that you're making on the program. Or your internal compensation set up with the company. He goes, yeah, that's how I operate. I'm like, nice to meet you, but unfortunately
Sure.
this isn't a place for you.
Sure.
And a lot of agents have these relationship with mortgage loan originators. They have MSA agreements, which is marketing, internal marketing, either through third-party vendors or branch agreements based on paying a specific dollar amount per month to be able to offer their services in an office. You'll see it at Keller Williams, you'll see it at RE/MAX offices, other different mortgage companies come in and they pay to be there.
Right.
And these MSA agreements sometimes do work for the mortgage company, and they work for the owners of these real estate offices.
Right.
But there's no reciprocal benefit to any of the agents internally.
So in other words, what you're saying is that, it's funny that you mentioned that, because a lot of agents, I don't feel that they know. There's plenty of realtors out there that don't know what an MSA agreement is. So you figure, okay, well, my brokerage is really pushing a specific mortgage company, and in the back of your head you're thinking, well, why? Is it just because they are the best all the time,
right? Or
is there some other motivating factor there? But it's kind of really brushed under the rug, because it's the brokerage. In layman's terms, it's the agent isn't getting compensated. But this is like what you're doing is a huge disruption to the old model, Mike, because really it's like, oh my God, now what's happening? Now the agent directly is getting paid,
right?
Whereas the brokerage in the past was getting paid.
Exactly. And
they're still getting paid. But what you're looking to do is flip that completely upside its head and say, okay, well, why doesn't the agent get compensated? They're the ones that are on the front lines. Yeah. They're the ones that are putting in the work. Yeah. They're the ones that have to be disciplined and on a schedule and do everything it takes to actually succeed. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a very although this is just the beginning in this specific area. Right. I just went with my gut, Mike. So just to summarize it, I said, okay. This guy, Mike Sema, sounds smart. It's everything he's saying is resonating with me. Artificial intelligence, leverage, pay the realtor, add value to the consumer, and remove the human element. I mean, it's a no-brainer. And I did have to take a moment and say, wow, this is just too good to be true. Right. So let me think this through. So, well, Mike, what about this? Right. Well, Mike, what about that? And you had an answer. So. Another huge one was the fact that I can't sit there and make phone calls and all day and say, hey, do a verification of income or do an employment verification and all this paperwork that I personally don't like. Right. And then you've said, I have a solution. We have a team we have a team behind the scenes that handles all that. Right. Once they're through the initial application process. Right, and when you're handling clerical work, let's say, right? I mean, you have a team to process, so that we can do, the agent can continue to go out, right, and can continue to focus on sell houses, and gather more batons of trust, so that we can, keep it going. Right?
No, the human element has been eliminated based on the initial application, based on the credit review. Sure. Clients are now capable of seeing their credit report. They're seeing the FICO scores, the outstanding liabilities, editing the information themselves if a specific debt was paid off, digitally verifying their assets. The beauty of technology in today's day is that the bigger banks are aware of it, and they've done what they've needed to do internally with the open APIs that they have to be able to dish out the information to specific vendors and other companies to simplify their clients' experiences by being able to be with them. So for example, in the application, once you select, hey, I'm looking to purchase a property, I have 20% down, and my 20% down payment is currently with Wells Fargo, for example. When you select my 20% down payment is with this bank, you have the ability to enter your username and password and securely log in from our system to digitally verify your assets. So we don't need bank statements. Yeah. And when the assets are verified through the algorithm on the back end and the bots that calculate those numbers and run it through the desktop underwriting system to give you a full verified pre-approval. So instead of calling your mortgage rep and on a Friday and waiting for them to call you back on a Monday morning, you're giving them the app on your phone and saying, hey, complete the application, let's get you pre-approved while we're at the property so we can put in an offer. And that's exactly what the hybrids have been doing, is offering that one-stop shop service, taking their clients to the properties, digitally verifying their assets, their income, being able to get a full pre-approval without ever having to speak to anyone. And the system is so good that based on the scenario, there's conditions that pop up on what they would need to upload through the portal for the processing or the team lead management position that we allocated and set up for every one of the hybrids to be able to assist and help and verify additional income documents to get the full pre-approval and submission. Now, let's say, for example, you have an offer accepted.
Right.
The client goes back into the system, enters the address, refreshes. The address and the taxes are automatically calculated into the system.
Right.
Disclosures are automatically populated for the client to be able to review everything based on what they selected on an interest rate and program.
Right.
E-sign and submit directly to processing, lock in the interest rate, and order the appraisal. So what is an MLO really going to do in the future of this industry? And that's something that a lot of mortgage companies and CEOs and their managers haven't really been honest about. They know what's happening, but they're not talking to their team members and their staff and their MLOs to let them know what's coming. They're trying to capitalize as much as they can currently based on the current market and the MLOs that are currently with their company, but they're not being honest with them. They need to understand that their position as an MLO is slowly being eliminated. But there is a new position for MLOs to be able to capitalize on, and it's the management position. Being able to manage hybrids that are the tip of the hour on the front line, working with all of these clients and do what they know how to do best, which is really review a scenario. Because not every scenario is going to get approved through a digital platform. There's going to be a human element that still needs to step in and kind of review something based on self-employment documents or different type of niche products that are available based on bank statement programs that we were talking about. So I do see the industry changing, and it's going to change quickly. And the hybrid agents that are going to be a part of it in the beginning stages will capitalize for the future. But why not double your income based on the same amount of volume that you're doing?
Yeah, so there's going to be plenty of rejections, right, Mike? So do you does the GAR system on the back end, like if I get rejected, is the user interface smart enough to come up with a flag and say, okay, well this is why you weren't accepted. I mean, your debt to income ratios were not on par, and essentially these are the tweaks and the adjustments that you need to make and maneuver for actually the parameters to be correct and for this loan to be introduced.
Yes.
Okay, that's awesome.
That's pretty amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So to clarify, just for viewers that really don't know too much about the hybrid program or are just being introduced to it, a hybrid agent is a real estate professional that's both not only a licensed real estate agent, but also a licensed mortgage loan originator. And by being a hybrid and merging the two industries into one, you're offering a one-stop shop service to all of your clients by not only assisting them by finding a property and negotiating on their behalf and getting them under their dream home, but also by offering a transparent mortgage service through a digital application that does 99% of the legwork for you. So it's a one-stop shop service. That's the best way of looking at it.
You know what I love? What I love, Mike, is the fact that I think me personally, the way I look at my philosophy, the way I look at 2019, any business in 2019 is that if you put effort into finding out, into researching what the heck is going on, I mean, it's the most exciting time to be an entrepreneur. It's the most exciting time to be in business and self-employed, right? It's the industry professionals that are doing that are running their business like the same way they were running it 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and you just made a great point in that. Hey, listen, I think that MLOs and loan officers as a whole, the industry is going to shrink at an extremely rapid pace, in my humble opinion. But the best of the best are going to survive in managerial positions, supervisor positions, whatever the title is, in overseeing high-level scenarios. And what they're going to do is they're not going to be out on the road, feeding sushi to realtors. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to be in an office reviewing scenarios, only doing the things that are very high things that are out of the box, right? Reviewing files. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And you forgot the best part, Mike. The best part is the compensation model. Where I think this is kind of like the cherry on top. Like, hey, listen, not only does an agent get to earn a commission.
Right.
Let's say not make, but earn a commission.
Right.
Originating a mortgage on top of the real estate, earning a real estate commission, but you get to also recruit.
And build
a team.
Yeah.
And
make an override on your team as well too.
Which
is how you got here, by the way.
Yeah.
It was introduced to you by someone that is a brand new agent.
Right.
And yeah, for her to get so excited about it and to talk to you and to pitch you on it and to have you a part of her team is pretty amazing.
And it's very amazing, because I think that the person that introduced me, it's like I don't know that anybody introducing something, you don't really have to fully understand and grasp and comprehend the gravity of what the heck is going on.
Right.
It doesn't take much to get really excited. I think you want to talk about that a little bit, like how many, the 5 levels deep and the 5 generations where you actually get compensated. Can you touch upon that?
Yeah, no, it's a little complicated to just have a conversation on it. The slides that we have really detail it out based on
you make a lot of money is what you're saying.
You make a lot of money, but
I think
it's a multi-level marketing structure.
Correct.
With a team lead position of being able to recruit and introduce it to other agents that you're working on specific transaction. Because once they see your name on the pre-approval and your hand on the mortgage, their first question is like, how the hell are you capable of doing this? You could offer this service. And when they see how quickly it gets done, especially through the technology platform, and through our services that we're closing and getting clear to close out within 2 weeks, and sometimes closing the deal within a 10-day period, agents do want to learn more. And once they find out how they get compensated on it, the multi-level marketing structure is pretty amazing.
Well, I think humans are really sheep, right? So I think that once the first once a few of the local agents that they rub elbows with on a consistent basis, they hear of them getting earning a commission check, on originating a mortgage. Proof of concept, right? So it only takes, a couple of loans, and then all of a sudden it's like a herd of sheep. Like, everybody's going to be running to the classroom to get their loan originators because I think it's inevitable. I think it's all why has this not happened sooner? And I think it's because there are still a lot of industry professionals in the loan originator position, right, that are highly resistant to change. Would you agree on that?
100%. Why would an agent's current relationship and mortgage loan originator want them to be an originator themselves? If they were to do that, they wouldn't refer the business to them anymore. And they wouldn't be making a commission that they're making anymore. But also the mortgage company owners and operators and managers, they haven't introduced it because it would go against their current model and all their current employees that are so dependent upon these agents.
Right.
So a lot of these companies aren't built for it and can't transition to it either.
Right.
But also they haven't really been focusing on technology and developing the proper systems and integrations and connections in the back end to be able to have this type of platform that's available for an agent to become a hybrid agent, or for their MLOs to be able to do their job quicker, faster, better. But one of the topics we really haven't discussed is what's really important for agents and mortgage loan originators to really understand. It's technology is changing, but the consumer behavior is changing just as much.
If not faster.
Right.
You need instant gratification, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, and I talk about this on every single one of our videos. You have to adapt to the current millennial generation because they are the largest percentage, especially the first-time home buyers right now in today's market. And it's a different generation. It's a generation that's high-tech, high-touch, and they expect high service, and they want to be able to have transparent solutions and digital platforms that could do it instantly. We're so used to Amazon and Prime and having everything at our fingertips, Uber Eats and Grubhub delivering. We barely even have to talk to anybody in today's day. Even purchasing stock literally takes me 10 minutes to be able to do it.
Right.
So the industry itself is changing because of the human behavior and who is currently buying homes. So a lot of agents haven't adapted to that style of marketing, number one, or also offering that type of service to them. We've been talking about this for weeks now and having conversations how what does an agent do in today's day compared to what they used to do 20 years ago?
Well,
What's the service really that an agent offers?
I mean, it's that's interesting because that's something that you and I have discussed so much. That 20 years ago, the largest value proposition and the only value that the realtor provided was actually knowing the inventory that was in the market, and that's why 20 years ago, if we went back into the past, I mean, they were set up large retail shops, mahogany conference room tables, impressing the client. You have physically had to visit and go to a real estate office to actually buy any real estate. But now it's like, you heard me say it multiple times, 2019 is the biggest exploitation of the value that a real estate agent provides or the lack of.
Yeah.
And why? Because it's like, and agents still haven't been able to adapt of the largest value proposition they were able to provide the client, which was the inventory.
Right.
Now what? The inventory's online.
Yeah.
So now what do you have to do? There's only one way you can have client retention and at a high percentage and performing at a high level is to provide the true value that a real estate agent should provide, which is insight into the market. We have plenty of data, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it before too, drowning in information and starving for wisdom. So what's the realtor's job is to actually take all that data and interpret it for the client.
Right.
Like, hey, listen, why you and I, you probably have a CPA, I have a CPA.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all on irs.gov, but why do we go to him? Because we don't have the time, or we go to him because we want him to interpret, and decode everything.
Right.
Right.
And give us his expertise, his advice.
Right.
And guide us.
Right.
To make sure that we're making the right decision.
Right.
Yeah. So, no, I'm 100% with you. But that's why it's so important to be able to offer a full service. And
Sure.
a perfect service. Because one of the things agents complain about the most when it comes to mortgage companies is that they don't do their job correctly. Mm-hmm. They're not available when the clients need them, or they made a mistake and they issued out a pre-approval, and all of a sudden an agent wasted 3 months of showing a client a specific price point range in homes, only to find out that after an offer is accepted, 2 weeks later, during the approval process, that the loan doesn't work.
Right.
So the human element and those mistakes are costly, especially when it comes to what agents have to invest based on their time.
I love it.
And on our end, we've been successful. We've been growing at such a high percentage when the rest of the industry has been going down year after year because of that focus of protecting that time and having the client retention where it needs to be, especially with clients that are working with us. We never want them to lose that client, but we also want them to offer a better service. Because now as a hybrid agent, you're not only offering purchase transactions, you're also offering all your past clients refinance transactions, debt consolidation, cash out, rate and term. We send out email blast for our agents that has a quick little link that says, hey, today's rate, by the way, is a 4.25 on a 30-year fix. If you want to refinance, click here, take a look at your interest rate. The client prices it out, sees exactly how much they could save a month. If their interest rate, great, they go through the application. The hybrid gets a notification, hey, John Smith that you closed 2 years ago just completed a full application looking to refinance, wants to drop down his interest rate, give him a call.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna have a huge fan club, and it's also you're a disruptor. I mean, what you're doing is going to disrupt the entire marketplace very quickly. And I have a question for you. It's just a hunch, right? So like the loan originators that have been in the industry for a long time, I mean, do you think conceptually, I mean, part of the reason why they're so highly resistant to technology and artificial intelligence is the fact that, hey, they want that phone call to be funneled back to them, so they think that they're going to have a higher probability and that chance, right? They're going to have that opportunity. But I feel like that's a slight miscalculation, and it might be a slight scarcity mindset in the sense that, hey, listen, with AI, AI doesn't have to eat. AI doesn't have to sleep. AI works on weekends, right? So that perhaps you're making less per transaction, right? But you're going to be able to your reach is going to be that much more.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that would you agree with that? I mean, in terms of they want that call to come back to them. You know, those are example. I'll give an example. I mean, this is just my hallucination and my and my hunch, but these incomplete pre-approval letters where it's missing certain key pieces of information, where I notice working with certain loan originators, they purposely leave out certain, like property specific pre-approval letters, in my opinion, are specifically designed for the call to go back to the loan originator, so to continue the uninterrupted communication between the client and the loan originator.
There's
to
a
get
strategy
to the closing.
to it. Yeah, of
Watch.
course.
They say, okay, and there's a script to that, right? They'll
Of
say,
course.
okay, well, you're approved for $400,000 with a $300 HOA fee. If any of these numbers change, you need to call me so I can tell you, mother, may I?
Yeah.
You know.
Of course.
Sure.
I'm there and they're making sometimes $9,000 on these transactions. Of course, they want to be talking to them as much as possible.
Sure.
And they want every opportunity to convert them. The scary thing about the digital side, digital side is you don't build that connection as a mortgage loan originator when you're fully online and you're offering a transparent solution and a service, which is doing the right thing by the client, but you're not building a relationship. You're not spending that 45 minutes to an hour with them, getting to know them on the personal side. And MLOs that focus their time and energy on developing that relationship, there's a higher conversion based on applications, but they're spending so much time only originating a small percentage of applications.
Relationship with who? The realtor or the public?
Or the client.
Okay.
So the applicant for the mortgage.
Sure.
So when they're spending all that time and energy developing that relationship, it is converting at a higher percentage based on app to closing, but they're not looking at the big picture based on the amount of transactions that they're missing out on. Instead of taking 10 applications a month, you're capable of taking 200 applications a month, or 300, or 400, or 500.
I'm going to pitch a question to you that's
Sure.
that's going to be maybe quite interesting. You've developed a relationship with a client. Let's say you closed on them 3 years ago, and you have a wonderful relationship with them. I mean, my hallucination is that client sensitivity to interest rates it's only getting magnified by the day.
Right.
So you did a refi on a client. You developed this wonderful relationship. They love working with you. You're such a pleasant gentleman, and yada yada. Come present day, will that relationship matter?
No.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
Oh,
you
no,
know? Yeah.
no,
So
100%.
is it as important to build the relationship, you know, or is that kind of like the need for that diminishing, you know?
So in today's day,
Right.
when a client goes through a credit check and a mortgage company, a bank, a broker pulls their credit report,
Right.
Experian sells that data immediately.
Shame on them.
And the technology is getting better and faster and quicker
Sure.
to the point that that information, first name, last name, address, phone number, when it is imported or purchased from other mortgage companies like ours,
Right.
we're capable of buying that information and taking it and putting it into Facebook, Instagram, Google. And we're telling Google, Instagram, and Facebook to show low interest rates with a little link to say, hey, 30-year fixed programs are going for this amount. Click here.
Right.
How many times have we shopped online? We've gone to, I don't know, Home Depot, and we've taken a look at, I don't know, kitchen cabinets or a mirror. But that mirror is following us everywhere we go on Google for the next 2 weeks.
You're talking about smart targeting. You're talking about artificial intelligence that targets, and it on the surface level it may look like magic,
Right.
but it's really transfer of data and utilization of that data for different purposes.
Right. So no matter who I'm talking to, no matter what relationship I have with them,
Sure.
the next time they go online, they're going to see a bunch of other companies and a bunch of other mortgage companies selling their products and their service
Right.
with super low interest rates because they're online direct-to-consumer companies.
Right.
So the chances of a client saying, hey, let me just check to see what interest rates are going for. You type in today's mortgage interest rate, Bankrate pops up, Zillow pops up, all these amazing third-party vendors and platforms that have companies competing against each other that are offering lower interest rates. So if a client was to say, hey, let me just see what's out there, then just double check real quick, and they're finding a 0.25% better rate or a half a point better rate online, I don't care what kind of relationship I have with them. The right thing to do is say, get that interest rate and save yourself $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 for the life of the loan, instead of no work with me, let me make the $9,000. So it is changing. The model is changing, and mortgage loan originators, unfortunately, aren't being told the truth by their operators and managers and company owners, and they're trying to drag it out as long as possible. I personally go to these digital conferences all the time. I talk to these executives, and they're terrified, but they're quiet. They're not saying anything internally to tell people what they need to do to prepare for what's to come. They're setting up separate companies themselves to try to focus on the online direct-to-consumer model. They're not telling anybody internally in their staff. And it's wrong. It's wrong because you need to be honest with your employees. You need to be honest with the market.
So in other words, what you're saying is that the information that's being fed down to the loan officers from the owners of mortgage companies are, the information is being protected. That, hey, listen, they're scared as hell.
Right.
They're scared as hell, but they don't know what to do, and they don't know how to react to the changing market.
Right.
Right. So they're not going to feed the real and honest truth information, the true information to the LO. The great. Interesting concept.
Yeah, they're going to try to drag this out as long as they can. But change is happening. It's already here.
Yeah.
And MLOs are seeing it firsthand. Look what happened with rates moving up quickly in 2018 and refis drying out. And that market, those refi lenders are now trying to tap into the purchase market. But inventory is low.
Right.
And we have 100% of the market focusing on 30, 40% of the industry and the availability based on what's available with clients. And there's a huge consolidation that's happening, and tech is going to be one of the biggest disruptors in our industry. And I'm looking forward to it.
It already is, yeah.
It already is, number one. I'm looking forward to it because the most important person is being protected, the client. And the professionals that are going to adapt the technology, the artificial intelligence, the bots, the algorithms, and the systems to be able to offer their clients the best service are the ones that are going to survive. They're the ones that are going to be capable of converting 40, 50 transactions a month compared to an industry average of 1 to 2 a month. So the transition is happening. The service is going to be better for the clients. The clients are going to get better interest rates, better programs, and really a better overall service from hybrids.
Yeah. Is that the industry average for a loan officer, about 1 to 2 a month?
1.2 a month.
1.2. National or?
National.
National. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So I think definitely. So with the hybrid program, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much for these the mortgage companies to just put in the thought and the awareness. Going to conferences is a big thing for me, at least. Right. And that's where you pick up a lot of information.
Oh yeah.
You pick up a lot of baseline foundation information as to what the industry is thinking and how they're innovating and. So how can you get started? How can an agent get started on the hybrid program? What does it entail? How much studying? How hard is the test? What's the fee? All that stuff.
It's pretty simple. First of all, towards the bottom of this page, you'll probably see a link. There's going to be 2 separate links. One for Brian. You can reach out to Brian if you have any additional questions about the program. And the other link is just to complete a basic app, basic information about themselves, contact info, and what we'll do is send out a breakdown of the steps. Step number 1 is taking the 20 hours national requirements. Once you take the 20 hours, what we do is set you up with CompuCram, which is an online test prep center.
Sure.
So you keep taking practice tests until you start scoring into the 80s, 90s. But the material isn't as complicated as the real estate side is. The real estate side, you have to take 75 hours. And it's a lot more information, and most real estate agents know 90% of what's on the mortgage side.
Right.
It's just some of the terminology, just digest that information and be prepared for the test. But once you pass the test, we do background checks.
Got it.
We take a look to make sure that your credit check is in order. And then we sponsor you as a company to be approved directly through us.
Free.
Free, yeah.
Free, wow.
Yeah. The only thing that a hybrid agent a real estate agent has to pay for is the national test. Not the test, the national course for the 20 hours. And it's a couple $100. Some companies offer for $199. It could go all the way up to $295. It's not really that expensive. If you could do the whole thing online as well too. But once you pass the test, within a 30-day period, you're licensed in the state, You could offer purchase and refinance transactions across the board.
Unbelievable. So from the day you make a decision to the 30 days, exactly 30 days later, you're in.
Yeah, on average, it's been taking about 60 days from start to finish. Because by the time you even schedule it, the 20 hours, some agents like breaking it up, 10 hours one week and 10 hours in another week. Some of them want to just go right through it. And just going through the overall process and our internal training based on products and services that we have to offer and how to use the digital platform and be able to connect and co-browse with clients and walk them through it and really see the results on the back end. Yeah, 60 days.
Is there an app? Is there an app where you can provide the client and you can kind of pass along to the app?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
it's
cool.
very easy.
It's simple.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're trying, and it's going to get better and better.
Yeah.
Year after year, we're going to continue to invest into technology and really just make it as robust as possible on the back end to be able to really just offer everything. The amount of programs and loan options and interest rates that the system is currently calculating, it's thousands upon thousands.
So the system just just scours everything that you have, and then just computes the best program for you.
Yep, and shows them everything between.
You had mentioned that you had released a version 2.0 already, probably like a half a year ago or so.
Yeah. It's just going to get better and better. It's going to be faster. Right now, it takes about 45 seconds for it to load. The results, we're trying to get it down to 3.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds
we're
good.
getting there. But if anybody needs to reach out to us, feel free. For any additional questions, you could call us directly or just click on the links below, complete basic information, and we'll send you a package about the hybrid agent program. But Brian, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.